All right, Paul's up. He says, Bradley, what are your thoughts on what ways can I use Google's trust indicator like go.gl short link on an AdWords PPC landing page? I have a hunch it might help boost trust and authority, higher quality scores, etc. Your thoughts and or recommendation, linking to the landing page on or from the page itself, etc. Thanks. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. I have not tested that, but you're talking about taking your landing page URL and shortening it with a go.gl short link and then using that as your landing page URL in AdWords. Now, I haven't tested that. My initial thoughts or assumptions would be that it wouldn't have an effect on quality score, only because what I have seen through my own testing for the last year with AdWords stuff is that quality score is a function of two things, really. Number one, your bid, your max bid is one. And then the other thing, which has the most effect on quality score, is going to be your click-through rate of your ad itself. So those are the things, those two things. Now, your landing page experience, like, honestly, I have played with multiple versions of landing pages trying to affect the quality score from that. And it has a very minimal effect on quality score. As long as your landing page has basically some basic elements to it, that's all that's required. And then obviously you want to have the keyword, like, especially like in the SEO title or whatever. Even though it's an AdWords, you still want it in like the meta title of the page. But that's really it. As far as everything else, the bid max bid amount, that's going to have an effect on quality score to a degree. But the vast majority of the quality score metric is calculated by click-through rate. And that's going to be determined by always split testing ads and trying to improve your click-through rate. And just as a side note, there's a lot of industries, guys, that you'll get into. And I know because as my experience continues to grow in AdWords, I see it now more and more. At first, I didn't understand why sometimes I would set up ads in one campaign and they would have quality scores of 3 and 4. And then I would set up the same type of ads with the same type of landing page, like as far as the elements, but for different keywords. Okay, so in a different industry. And I would start off with quality scores of 5 or even 7. And sometimes as much within a day or two, they'd go up to 8 or 9 or even quality scores of 10. And I would wonder, why is that? Like what? And so that's when I started really playing around with different things that I would try to manipulate quality score with. And your max cost per click bid is one. Another one that Marco gave me a hint at, I wasn't able to prove it, was increasing your budget, your daily budget as well. But I wasn't able to prove that. And it's probably because I didn't go extreme enough. So we won't talk about that much. But I tried playing with landing pages as well. And I couldn't manipulate quality score more than just like a point from landing pages. But once I started really honing in click-through rates, which is always the strategy for that is just constantly always be split testing your ads and trying to achieve the highest click-through rate. So run 2 ads concurrently, split test your ads. So run 2 concurrently and let it run until you've generated either a certain number of clicks or you've allowed them to, to test against each other for a certain amount of time. It's usually a function of volume of clicks, right? So like, let's say I want to allow 30 clicks to this ad, and then I'm going to go back and take a look and see which ones had the higher click-through rate. Then you keep the one with the higher click-through rate and you pause or eliminate the one that had the lower click-through rate. And now you write a new ad to split test against your control, right? The one that just performed better. And you constantly refine until you get your quality or your click-through rate up. And here's the thing, what I was saying just a moment ago about, starting off with different ad groups and seeing how some would have low quality scores right off the bat and others ones would have higher. And that's based on when you start a new campaign, guys, AdWords will give you like a mean or a baseline quality score based upon the industry average or the average for the quality score average for that industry. And so if you're in a space where you're running AdWords campaigns where there's a lot of shitty advertisers, in other words, advertisers that don't know what they're doing and aren't optimizing their campaigns, your campaign's going to start off with a low quality score. And that's only because that's like the mean or the median in the industry average, if that makes sense. So the only way to get your click-through rate, your quality score up is to start improving your click-through rate to get well above and beyond what the industry average is. And once you do that, and I don't know what that number varies depending on every industry. But for example, if I can get a click-through rate up to say like 30% in the tree service industry, my quality scores are going to be 8 to 10, hands down every time. But if I keep my click-through rate down around the 10 to 15%, which I believe is pretty standard for the industry, then my quality scores are going to be anywhere, they're going to range between 5 and 7. But once you get to 7 and 8, 8 and above, you really get much lower costs, and you get the higher the higher ad rank and all that. So I know that was kind of a long-winded answer, but I wanted to explain. I haven't tested using the the Google short link as a landing page, as the landing page URL. I don't think it would have an effect, but I haven't tested it. And I just wanted to explain, really what the quality score, the biggest influence on quality score is going to be click-through rate.
All right. So can I just mention something that I picked up from what you just said and from what he's trying to say? Mm-hmm. If click-through rate is a factor for quality score, and you have a Google URL showing, that's
wouldn't it entice more clicks? Is that what you're going to say?
Hey. And wouldn't it thereby increase your quality score? And we actually show that inside RYS Academy. Isn't that something?
That's actually that's a really great idea, and that's something that I wasn't even considering when I was answering this. But that's a good point, Paul. If you have that goo.gl short link, it's going to be basically a Google URL that might be deemed more trustworthy by the searcher or the visitor, right? So it might end up generating a higher click-through rate, like Marco just said. Test it, Paul. Test it and let me know. In fact, I might even test that on a couple campaigns just to see. In which case, I don't know where I'll share it. Ask me again at a later date, Paul. I just want to give a quick recommendation. This is not an affiliate link, guys, but there is this is a really cool site. I think it's say 10 scores. Okay, 10scores.com. Check this out. This is they got this big pop-up here. Let me close this. I forget how to close this damn thing. Right there. Okay, so 10 scores. This is a great service. It's really cheap. It's like $25 for 5,000 keywords or something like that. It's ridiculous. You can view plans and pricing here. 50,000 active keywords, up to 5 AdWords accounts for $25 a month. Guys, this is really cheap. Most of the AdWords optimization platforms are really expensive, and this one is dirt cheap. And I really like it because this is really what turned me on to, I finally started believing that click-through rate was the biggest influencer of quality score once I started following the 10 score blog, and then I ended up purchasing it, and I've started using it for some of the AdWords accounts that I manage, and I started seeing actual real results by just manipulating click-through rate. I saw real improvements in quality score just by doing what this blog tells me to do, and then I started using the service on some of my accounts, and it absolutely is true. And for a while there, I just didn't believe that click-through rate was the biggest influencer on quality score until, like I said. And then, by the way, there's a great blog on this site too. Read our blog right there. The guy, his name's Christian, I think, the main, I guess the guy that owns this or whatever. It's a great blog. He's got some awesome articles in here about how to improve AdWords campaigns. So I highly recommend that you guys, even if you don't purchase the product or whatever, they're subscribed to it, just go through and start paying attention to these blog posts. Subscribe to the blog because he really's got some great stuff.